I think as a kid, I developed in a way that made me very poor at dealing with my own emotions. And I know as a kid, I was pretty sensitive, but also it was influenced from the people around me that I was kind of given the impression that, well, I was directly sort of given the idea that I was not allowed to communicate anything that was emotional. So if we were too happy, if we were too sad, if we expressed anything emotional, there would be punishment for us. And this, for me, as I grew up, caused a lot of issues. The primary one being that of self esteem, or self love, you could say. And I just had this sense as I grew up that I was broken, that nothing I could ever do would be right, that everything I did was wrong, that no one liked me, that I was just fundamentally flawed in many ways. And this never went away until I got much older. Even then, it's not fully gone. It's just much, much better. But during the whole thing, I became somewhat obsessed with fixing myself. Even when I was a kid, before the age of 12, I'd steal my mum's books, read them, try all these different things. She had all these books on meditation and stuff. I went through a stage of going through the whole I had a sort of self help book addiction, I guess you'd say. And back then, a lot of them focused on self love. And it's still a popular theme today. I never really understood what it meant. No matter what I did, it just was never a thing. A lot of the advice they would give would be centered around very practical things. Self love is looking after yourself, your body, eating well, sleeping well, brushing your teeth, exercising. But I was doing that anyway, and I still felt the same. And then the second main form of it was about thoughts. So that the whole premise is if you think loving thoughts towards yourself, you will love yourself. And I used to analyze this, and I was like, I, it was hard for me to believe that anyone would experience self love through doing this. Because I tried. I tried it to death. Getting up in the morning, writing grateful things down, looking in the mirror, telling yourself you love yourself, doing affirmations, meditation, doing loving kindness meditations, hours and hours upon days, upon weeks, upon months, book after book, page of notes, affirmation after affirmation. Nothing ever changed. Ever. Not even a little bit. The only thing I ever got was like a drug like feeling when I would discover the new self help book and I would get hope, and hope would make me feel happy. Then that would wear off, get the next one, etc., etc. A funny addiction to have, but I realize now it was like any addiction, pointless and artificial. And I used to just wonder, how can people like themselves? Like, how is this even possible? What does this even mean? What actual mental activity takes place in a person who loves themselves, even likes themselves? Is there a difference? Can you like yourself and then love yourself? Do you fall in love with yourself? Do they have particular thoughts about themselves and they just have this loving feeling towards this self? And none of it ever made sense. And honestly, it still doesn't. I could never find this person that I was supposed to love. All I found was the shame and the pain and the damage that was still in the body. But I wasn't that aware of it at the time. That was just the way I functioned, right? But that was all I could find, was the pain. Was there another person underneath who was better and I loved that person? Is it that I just take actions that I think are good and feel proud of myself? I did that and I felt proud of myself, but I still hated myself. Self-love and pride are two different things as far as I could see. So I eventually went through a lot of experiences and I got somewhat obsessed with certain spiritual practices. It led me down the line of very practical spiritual practices that are there to uncover certain truths and in order to remove, it will express or feel repressed emotions or traumas, you could call it. For me, I don't know what that means in terms of trauma. Trauma and repressed emotions seem like a similar thing. So what happened was I went through a period of grieving a lot of the grief that I didn't when I was a child, very, very young. It took a long time and it took a lot of effort, and it's very hard to grieve like that as you get older. But then when I did, what I found that there was just less shame. There was less pain in the body emotionally. There was less this sense of being fundamentally damaged was lifted to some extent. And from there I could tell that something had changed. That I would just normally, it was just my new way of being, that I would support myself more. I would be on my own side more. I would agree with my own actions more. I felt fine about some of the things that I was doing. And this is what I experienced as self-love. There was no, I wasn't making any effort. I wasn't trying to think in a particular way. I wasn't thinking things towards myself. It was just the natural effect of releasing the emotions that were in the way of experiencing a clearer version of myself without that there. Before you do that, there's no amount of thinking that's going to fix these emotions. There's no amount of positivity towards yourself that's going to make things better. That's why these decades of self-help books that we have that try to change your thinking towards yourself, it's complete waste of time. Maybe it works for some people, but I've never heard of lasting, proper, fundamental change through these things. Self-love and self-esteem, the fundamental attribute of it is awareness. The ultimate act of self-love you can do is to look inside the body with love and awareness, or mindfulness, you could say. Identify sensations, tensions, emotions, areas of discomfort, and just hold them in your loving awareness. The word loving can be confusing, so I just say awareness. We all do this with meditation and mindfulness and stuff. But the ultimate act of love that I had towards myself was this. I sat there and I searched the body for the problematic emotions, and then after enough time I was able to release them. This conscious looking is self-love. That's it. That really is, I believe, what love is this sense of awareness of motion, awareness of energy. It doesn't change the energy. It doesn't try to be involved in it. It doesn't take it on board. It's not affected by it. It just holds it in awareness without trying to change it, accepting it fully for what it is. This is what we do with our consciousness when we look at these emotions in the body or sensations or areas of discomfort. We hold them in our loving awareness without trying to change them. It's the same thing if we say that we truly love someone. A lot of the time, I think it's based on facts. For this reason, for this reason, for this reason. But truly, to fundamentally love someone is to hold them within your awareness without wanting to change anything. Accepting something or someone fully for what it is. And just holding it there. That's it. There's no thought required. There's no actions required. There's just a simple holding of it in awareness. And this is the ultimate act of self-love. Eventually, this act of self-love will release the problematic emotions. And then you will experience a higher self-esteem, although it won't be experienced like that. You'll just feel clearer. You'll just be a slightly different person who's clearer, and things are a little bit easier. There'll be no change in, you won't think loving thoughts towards yourself more. There'll just be a simple sense of increased clarity. Thanks, guys.